All right, I am recording this episode 38.
You're recording?
Yep.
You hit the button?
Yeah, I'm talking and I see the thing.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 38 of the Harsch Review. We are a film and TV podcast hosted by two brothers. My name is Sean, and with me is the elder brother, Ryan.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Hey, Ryan. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good, Sean.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Living the dream over there?
Always.
Nice.
Yeah.
Just starting to rain up here. It's been a while. You never think somebody up in Washington would say that, but yes. There is rain, and it's kind of nice. But outside of that, just been, working a lot and adjusting and being back from travels last week. What's new with you?
Well, last night I was at the Shrine Auditorium to catch a show by Mr. David Byrne.
Oh, from Talking Heads fame, huh?
Uh-huh.
Nice. First time seeing him live?
Yes. Unfortunately missed the Talking Heads. They kind of disbanded before I was too old to go to a concert. So, but I really like, you could tie this in the movie thing. There's a documentary or a concert film called Stop Making Sense, which is outstanding. One of the better concert documentaries. But this show, it kind of had elements of that, but it was David Byrne doing solo work. He has a new album out and also doing a lot of Talking Heads favorites. We come into the concert and it's basically like a blank stage, with a kind of an interesting floor. It's kind of a plain floor. There's a fringe thing up around all sides of the stage. So there's really no like set decoration, but as the show starts, Byrne comes out and then he's joined by the rest of his band. So there's about 10 people in the band and they're all basically playing instruments that are untethered. So, you have a guy with a keyboard, a lot of percussion instruments, bass guitar, electric guitar, everything is basically, it's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen as far as a concert being as close to like maybe a Broadway musical.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really say that, but it was, highly choreographed, a lot going on, the entire time. The music was great. Visually, it was amazing. Just how they kind of pulled it off, and it was fantastic. I loved it.
Was it a bit weird seeing untethered musicians, and by that meaning there's no backline, right? You're not seeing any amps or cables or pedals or anything, right?
Yeah, that was interesting. And he made a comment during the show. He says, we were at a concert somewhere, and someone said, "Well, you guys are using samples or stuff behind the curtain?" And he said, "No, this is all done by us." So that was really cool, because it just sounded like there was a lot going on musically, but it was different. I mean, and it had to be choreographed because otherwise you'd have 10 people kind of running into each other. So yeah, there were parts, where people were moving around doing different things. People would kind of come and go. Otherwise, I mean, the lights, it had like a decent light show too for what it was, but it was mainly just, a stage and then David Byrne, of course, and then the band. So he's he was an art student before he formed the Talking Heads, so that really informed a lot of what he did with that band, and I think what he still does today, just putting on a spectacular show that kind of visually and audio, just amazing.
Yeah, a lot of musicians, when they play that way, they're going to have in-ear monitors, and they're typically playing to like a MIDI track or something that keeps everybody in sequence. And all the effects and sounds that change are pre-programmed. So it's like a whole act that they have to rehearse. I saw Weezer probably in like 2000 and I don't know, 2008, 2009 at the Forum, and that's when they were playing without a backline. So it was just drums, guitars, and mics, and it looked pretty strange, especially because you're hearing like this loud sound coming from the stage, but you're not seeing anything. I saw Tool do that, And there's another band. Muse has been doing that recently as well. To where there's just 3 guys on the stage and it's just very empty. Lots of environment and effects and stuff to run around. Definitely much more produced.
Yeah,
but it makes sense for adding an artistic element and a choreograph to the show. Did he look different than, were they like in matching outfits or anything, or was there like a costume element?
And Stop Making Sense, there's a point in the movie where he puts on this gigantic like suit.
Oh, the big suit.
The big suit, right? So he didn't have that this time, but he did have like just a regular fitting like gray suit with like gray slacks. And I think they looked barefoot from where I was, but I think they had to have like the soft soled like type of maybe slip on shoes. So he was dressed that way. Everybody was dressed identical to him. He's got like white hair now. I think he's in his 60s, so he definitely doesn't look like he used to. But, I remember Talking Heads in the 80s and just their videos were just so odd.
Oh, yeah. Strange.
I mean, very strange, but very like cool and kind of definitely artistic. And the music really, it kind of calls to a lot of different forms and a lot of world music, a lot of heavy like percussion and things like that. So he's doing he was doing great. He was moving around the whole time. Near the end of the show, there's this he didn't really take his jacket off or anything. Just a big old like puddle of sweat on his back. So you could tell he was working. He was moving around quite a bit.
Oh, that's cool. I'm glad you got to go and have some fun.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be doing this again or not, but I'm glad I got to see something like this. It was the Shrine Auditorium in Los Angeles near USC, so that was pretty cool. We had gone over and seen the King Tut exhibit earlier in the day, so it was a pretty complete day for me.
How was that exhibit?
It was cool. They keep saying it's like the last time we'll see any of this stuff. I mean, there are several artifacts. They didn't have that kind of iconic headpiece there.
Yeah, that doesn't leave Cairo.
Seen. Yeah, but quite a bit of other things that I mean, you're looking at stuff that's 3,000 years old, literally, and there's like chests and pottery and weapons and things that are still look great, and it's
just like a bunch of old shit, huh?
Yeah, really. I mean, you kind of read the stories behind them and what they are. The colors are just like, they really kind of catch your eye. There's a lot of attention to detail, like on the sides of like a chest and things like that. It's just interesting how they kind of gave him all these things when they buried him, like thinking he would take him to the afterlife and use all these things. Really cool. Really had a good time with that.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, did you get some time to watch some movies and get caught up on some news and stuff?
I did. Yeah, I did my best this week.
Yeah, same here. I've got a couple I'll jump into here if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
So obviously from last week, as you guys, if you listened to last week's show, I was doing some traveling, so didn't get to watch a whole lot of movies and stuff, but I did catch some interesting news articles. So BBC News put an update up on the Johnny Depp earpiece. So we talked about this 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, where Johnny Depp says he uses an earpiece to have like obscure sounds sent to him through his head so that he can, use those, channel that emotion into his acting. Well, more details have come out. I guess this is a thing that a lot of people are interested in. And the reason why is that his former managers basically said that the star was fed his lines through an earpiece, so he doesn't have to memorize his scripts. Now, that obviously was the speculation last time, but this came out because he's in a legal battle between his ex-managers for mismanaging his money, and they're countersuing him. So he's in this huge legal battle, and so because of that, all these extra details are coming out. And they said that he paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to employ sound engineers that read him and fed him his lines while he was on film sets.
Wow.
And Depp said he insisted that the sound engineer be kept on yearly retainer so that he no longer had to memorize his lines. So this person was getting paid even when Depp wasn't working, just so that the second he needed him somewhere, he could, have him whenever he needed to.
So like in other life situations, you might have needed an earpiece and a little help to, guide him along. I mean, that's interesting.
Well, it's just because he didn't want to put in the effort that he used to. But his money management issues are pretty crazy when you start reading into this article beyond the earpiece. Is that the management group, the TMG, I guess is the group that was his managers, said that he has a compulsive spending disorder and needs a mental examination. And that, people did everything to try and protect Depp from his own irresponsibility and the amount that he spent. So just to give you some perspective on like how bad his disorder has gotten, according to the reports and stuff that are coming out in his legal battle, they claim that he spent more than $75 million to acquire and improve on 14 residences, including a chain of islands in the Bahamas, multiple houses in Hollywood, and a 45-acre chateau in South France. He bought roughly 45 luxury vehicles, 70 collectible guitars, and enough Hollywood memorabilia to fill 12 storage facilities.
Whoa.
And then he spent approximately $1.2 million a year on a personal on-call physician and millions more to employ an army of attorneys. So yeah, it's just kind of crazy seeing how much money is out there.
He sure found a creative way to spend it, though. I mean, you hear about a lot of these celebrities they just buy kind of flagrantly rich, ostentatious things, and then he's buying, storage facilities full of all kinds of crap. Basically, I mean, like, what are you doing with all this stuff?
Well, it's getting nasty because this is the last quote from the BBC article where they said that Johnny Depp spent like approximately $30,000 a month on wine as a quote unquote investment, according to Depp. And then they went to say, quote, Depp would be hard pressed to find a single bottle of wine that he purchased during his tenure with TMG that he or his various companions have not yet consumed. Quote, wine is not an investment if you drink it as soon as you buy it.
So that's like an alcoholic's justification. Yeah, it's an investment. I'm investing in getting a buzz. And
it's kind of like the same things like, MC Hammer had to deal with, and lots of these stars who just get so freaking rich so fast, and they just burn their money. And it's kind of funny because we're talking about me being at Graceland, and I'm just thinking, when do we get to tour one of Depp's places, in 30 or 40 years from now, and just see his wacky lifestyle? Like, who's going to be the next Elvis? And we're going to tour their house and just trip out on all their old stuff.
I think you answered that question already. It's
if he doesn't lose
Johnny
it all.
Depp. Yeah.
If he doesn't lose it all. So moving on to other sad news for lots of folks out in the Marvel Universe, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 production has been put on hold.
Oh.
Huge bummer. James Gunn was obviously let go back in July, and the script and everything was done, and lots of people were protesting, rallying, tried to get it back on, and Disney held firm and said, not going to happen. We're not budging. We wish them the best of luck. So right now, this is what Marvel's kind of saying. It's a regrouping to determine what direction they're going to go, but the timeline has been pushed out. Everything was supposed to start in January, February, and looks like it's going to take a little bit longer. So the article, according to the Hollywood Reporter, is still coming, under development, but ultimately, big delay, especially because these movies have made, I think, well over $1 billion between the two of them.
Yeah, and
big money maker.
The cast has been kind of vocal about it in terms of the firing of the director, right? Like, just
not happy.
Yeah, I mean, if he goes and we go, kind of thing. I mean, that's kind of, you don't really see that allegiance these days with your cast, and I guess they really feel compelled with this guy, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's just sometimes we question these hirings and firings, but ultimately we don't know what kind of consequences we're going to get out of them. So
I think Disney's going to find themselves in a tough spot to find the right talent, because in any kind of artistic medium, especially like movies and music and stuff like that, I mean, people have got past, they've got mistakes, they've done things they don't, regret. There's even a lot of people on the payroll that have done those kinds of things, but it feels like a double standard. And how far are they going to take it? Like, when are they going to defend or support somebody, even if they were, they said offensive things at some point in their life, or who knows what. It's also going to turn off a lot of people for wanting to work with Disney, just based on that alone. So I don't know. You got to enter into a partnership with these companies, but I don't necessarily think that somebody who has said certain things or done certain things, if their actions don't back up a lot of their words, and everybody says this is not the same type of person that he was 10 years ago when he tweeted these things, or who knows what. I don't know. It's a little harsh, but
hey. No pun
yeah,
intended.
I'm not allowed to use that word. I sound like an idiot. All right. So sad news for you is one of your favorite shows is finally ending after this season, and that is The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know. You watch it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
What, 12 seasons or something like that? 12, 13 seasons?
I guess.
Yeah, 12 seasons. But yeah, that's kind of what's happening. It's the weird thing about it is once everything is said and done, it'll be, I think, 279 episodes. And it'll make it the longest running multi-camera sitcom in television history. So it's been nominated for 52 Emmys and it won 10. Show sucks, but
yeah, all bad things must come to an end.
It has some funny moments here or there, but I just can't stand the cast. So I can't really watch it. So while it does have some clever writing, I'll give it that.
I kind of given up on a lot of things that have a laugh track a long time ago. I don't know. I think it is subconsciously I had to stop kind of. I think maybe like Seinfeld was maybe the last. And I still love Seinfeld. It's just
probably like Friends and Seinfeld were the last, Big Bang or the big three over the last few decades. That
it's kind of insulting. They're still doing that almost.
It's a bit weird. It's I don't know. It's strange. Like, oh, who are these people laughing? And it peaks and declines, and it's got the perfect noise gate to make it all, there's no random sound, there's no room chatter. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Yeah. So that's a bit of a bittersweet for a lot of people out there, but I could care less.
Any spinoffs? Not that I care, but
they already have one. It's like some, Baby Sheldon, the mega nerd, they've already got it. I don't know if it's any good or not. I've never seen it. I don't know what it's called.
They get paid a lot of money, don't they?
Oh, they're making so much freaking cash. It's not even funny. So good for them paying the bills, but yeah, who knows? So other news: Danny Boyle, he is no longer going to direct the 25th Bond.
Oh yeah, that's right. They're gonna farm it out to someone else, I guess.
Yeah, they're back to the drawing board. Just creative differences. I think my speculation would be is Danny Boyle sees it going one way, and folks in the Bond camp see it going another way. Who knows? To bring a director like his caliber on, you're definitely going to run into some of that because he's going to have his own opinions and wants to make his own movie. I don't know. So it's a bit of a bummer because I'd really like to see a James Bond made by somebody with a high pedigree. Not that it hasn't already, but people that are very well established.
Yeah.
Especially because Danny Boyle's got a unique approach to him. His movies have a nice flavor to them. And so because this kind of came out, there's like an article in GQ essentially saying it's time to kill James Bond and do a reboot, so to speak. It was just something to say, like, who still it was an interesting article, really about who watches James Bond, like who are they appealing towards? and they're not really. Is he really attractive to a younger audience, so to speak? I mean, he was somebody that, was a womanizer. He was a drinking all the time, and he had his gadgets and he had his things. But I mean, the elements of what his masculinity and all that kind of stuff, it just doesn't seem to be something that attracts like a new audience, but they're still going for.
Yeah.
The author went on to say, who is Bond for? The lazy answer, it doesn't particularly mean anything, is, quote, dads. And what we mean by that is people who do not want to be challenged. So he goes on to say, just makes his case that like James Bond just needs to get killed off and move on.
Or Idris Elba can be Bond.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Stringer Bell.
I know that there's those talks, but I think that if they're going to reboot Bond, they need to. The rumor already is that James Bond is essentially a code name, not an individual. So there's ways that they could do it where they could kill off. What's his name? Horse Muscles. Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
And when they bring it back for the 26th Bond, do something new and fresh. Who knows? I personally think it'd be rad to see them do a reboot, but bring it back to like the 60s.
Different eras.
Yeah, something. I don't know. We'll see. So anyways, I liked a lot of the modern Bond films. I liked a lot of them growing up, but now I can't go back and watch them again because they just don't hold up and they're really cheesy.
Who's the best Bond, Sean?
Well, I mean, growing up, Pierce was my Bond. Obviously, the amount of hours I played, GoldenEye.
Didn't we all?
Yeah. So I enjoyed a lot of his movies, but in hindsight, they're not that good.
Yeah.
But he was a good, British Bond, so to speak. Roger Moore was probably my second favorite. I was never really a fan of Sean Connery.
Yeah.
Timothy Dalton, I was never a fan of. What's the guy that played him one time? I don't remember his name.
George Lazenby.
Lazenby, yeah, that guy. But I think that what you get with Daniel Craig is a little bit more grit and just better filmmaking. It's not as campy.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoy those ones the most. I would watch his over and over and over. But when I was growing up, I watched almost all of them, and I can't go back and watch them anymore. So maybe I'll feel that way about these ones in 10 years. But yeah, I've seen them all many times. They don't stay with me as much, but
I haven't seen all of them, but I definitely do for the same reasons you do for the best one would be Daniel Craig. He's just, a lot more rugged, and it just seems to me like the newer Bonds, like he gets beat up a lot, and that just seems like what any of us...
He can take a punch.
Yeah, but if like any of us were to do that job, it's like it seems like guys like Roger Moore or whatever, they kind of went through stuff unscathed, and then this one's just getting the crap beat out of him, like, the whole movie, but it's like, that's kind of an everyman thing.
Yeah, and it's also... Invincible. Yeah, it's like, don't touch the face.
Right.
Probably those 60s, 70s actors.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point. It's like Indiana Jones and stuff where he was always taking a punch. He never came out of his movies looking all good. And I think that's important for an action hero. And you don't really get that with a lot of the other Bonds. But they're also something that what works against it is they were innovative at the time they came out. So they're showing you technology that didn't exist, futuristic gadgets and all kinds of stuff. And so it makes the replayability very tough if you didn't watch it when it was released.
Right.
Second part is Bond really relied on the gimmicky villains. All their villains had like a little thing that made them unique, very much like Dick Tracy or something. And the current run with Daniel Craig they still have an element, but it's more of a characteristic. It's not a gimmick. It's a visual tell or just something that says like that's the villain. You have a little tick or just some little weird personality thing, but it's not over the top like it was in a lot of the older Bonds that you may have seen.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit different. They started kind of going away from that formula. But I'm hoping it's pretty good. I still enjoy a lot of the most recent ones they have. They're pretty good. So
Yeah.
I think it's Daniel Craig's best stuff. It's sad he wants to get away from it, but I also understand. I mean, you're probably sick of doing it after a while.
Totally.
All right, so last one, a fun article I read on the Hollywood Reporter is an interview with Michael Shannon, who is the resident asshole of filmmaking, who I love. I think he's an incredible actor. I love everything that he does, even when the movie's not that great. He's always pretty good. And he went on
the show.
Yeah, he had an interview with Playboy, and it was in regards to Fahrenheit 451. So there's a lot of highlights about this, but it kind of came up, and so I'll just read a couple excerpts from this interview because it's kind of funny. So bear with me as I get through a couple of these. So in this interview with Playboy, he was asked if he would ever play Trump, and Shannon just says no. And the interview goes, just to get inside his head, prodding a little bit. And they said, you talked about being fascinated by bad men who are suffering, so they're obviously baiting him a little bit. And he goes, well, how do you mean? How is he suffering? So do that.
I can totally picture him answering these.
How do you mean? How is he suffering? He's having the time of his life, Shannon said. He doesn't even have to work. All the hard work that most people have to do to get to be president of the United States, he just skipped all that. The fucking guy doesn't even know it's in the Constitution. He doesn't have any grasp of history or politics or law or anything. He's just blindfolded, throwing darts at the side of a bus. And then he goes, what is there to be empathetic about? So obviously he got triggered. And then he goes off to saying, he's probably thinking, I want some fucking pussy. I don't know. I'm not going to remotely contemplate that notion that Trump is capable of deep reflection in any form. The interviewer asks, he goes, in any form, it doesn't happen. Fuck that guy.
Wow.
So he finally goes out to go.
Tell us what you really think, Michael Shannon.
He closed it out saying, when he's alone with his thoughts, he's not capable of anything more complex than, I want some pussy and a cheeseburger. Maybe my wife will fuck me if I tell her she's pretty. So I had a hard time getting through this. Sorry for all the explicit language, guys. Great. But he definitely kind of lost it in this Playview interview, and it goes on and on. So I'll spare you guys, but it's pretty funny to see somebody, a celebrity, just be that blunt and candid in an interview, and just kind of take over after just, would you ever play Trump in a movie question?
Right, and it's someone I actually respect. A lot of these. I remember when Trump won, and all these celebrities from like Miley Cyrus to everyone else, well, I'm going to move to Canada.
Yeah, by all means.
It's like, hey, let me help you pack. I'll go. We don't need you here. So, it's someone I actually respect. He's a great actor. He's one of the best. He's kind of hedged himself into playing a similar role every time, but he's just going to do great. It's kind of refreshing to see this side of it, and it's not really like the most intelligent,
as candid as it is. Yeah,
yeah. It's just it's just full of the F-bombs, and that's fine. He can do that, but it's nice to hear that.
Yeah. It was entertaining to read, but I think it's just visually seeing him. It's like, I don't really know what he's like as a person. Seems to be not that far off from the characters he gets cast as.
Yeah, it's a good fit for him.
Yeah. Anyways, so that's all I've got for this week. Curious to see what's caught your eye.
Yeah, well, I have some things here. First of all, we talked a while ago about this movie coming out with the puppets called The Happy Time Murders.
I remember.
Yeah, well, it came out Friday, and I don't know if you saw this coming or not, but it was a major disappointment at the box office.
I actually didn't know it came out this last Friday.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, how did it do?
So, Brian Henson, of course, he got his chance to make his passion project after years of development, but the film was pretty much ravaged by all the critics. Happy Times Murder. Well, it's not compared to Billionaire Boys Club. It earned, according to this article, a weak $10 million in its first 3 days, coming in at third.
I wonder what it cost.
It says here it was budgeted moderately at $40 million. So, usually it's like after that first weekend when people are reading the reviews and looking at everything, it's your audiences are going to wane based on that. So, it's just going to be pretty much like a misfire all around.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's kind of an odd concept, for something that's always been kept almost exclusively to children, and then you translate it over to some adult, murder mystery. I'm assuming there's like some maybe puppet nudity, drug use, things like that. It doesn't sound like it works.
Yeah, and I don't know if Melissa McCarthy has the same kind of draw. I mean, she's funny, but I haven't seen her in anything in a while that I've been like, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, so with this one, it's I think everyone kind of saw it coming. It would just be interesting to see these families taking their kids to see it and just like walking out. Maybe just pay to see that. I mean,
Sure.
Like what do you expect? I mean, it is rated R, so it is what it is, but it is getting trashed and it's not doing too great, and it probably won't be too much better in the next couple of weeks. So
save your money, folks.
Yeah, sorry. So that's Happy Time Murders, major dud. What are you gonna do? Netflix, we talk about Netflix a lot. They're a major player in the business, so we kind of have to talk about them. But Netflix executives don't like the term binge watching. This is something that it's become kind of a familiar phrase, in part because of Netflix. Been around for a while. Basically, it's primarily rooted in Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime. It shows pretty much a mindset of people who start watching these shows, including us. But this news comes to us from Mr. Guy Pearce, who, according to you, is a very great man. Very nice guy,
nice
right?
Dude, yeah.
Yeah. Seems like he is. But he said a recent interview with Empire, Guy Pearce was asked about whether people would binge watch his new Netflix show called The Innocents, which I think just came out. I haven't seen, but looks okay. Pearce said in response, "People do, but I don't think Netflix likes the term binge. When we did the promotion for The Innocents in the U.S., we were strictly sort of instructed beforehand not to talk about binge watching." According to Pearce, like they were not instructed to use another term in place of binge watching, like, marathon watching. They were simply told what to avoid and what not to say.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what it is. What else do you expect people to do?
Yeah, I mean, does that word have like a negative context somewhere?
I don't think so. I mean, it's really become ingrained in everything. I mean, whatever you're talking about Netflix, it's like, yeah, I'm binge watching this or I'm binge watching that. And I don't know how many people, like, I've done this, like where you start watching a show and it's like, all right, I got to go to bed soon. Going to watch one more, just one more. And then one turns into maybe another one. So,
yeah, and then a pint of ice cream later and a bag of pretzels. You're not feeling too great about yourself.
But the word binge itself, if we're to look at like the etymology of a word, frequently associated with drinking and eating.
Yeah, so to excess.
Exactly. So that might be why they're avoiding it. I don't know why, they're thinking people are going to be like, because maybe you're doing those two things while you're binge watching shows too. I don't know. I'm not, but I'm sure some people might be. So Netflix does want to avoid the term, and it'll be interesting to see if they're going to, put the clamp down on anybody using this term later on down the road.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to do anything about it. It's what best describes watching a lot of Netflix. I mean,
yeah.
Let's come up with something alternative. What do you think?
There's that marathon watching.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of hard pressed to think of another term, Yeah, I mean, you could not in something you could say in so many words, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to go home and watch a bunch of shows back to back and see what happens.
Here's our options on thesaurus.com.
Okay.
The first one is orgy. So
orgy watch.
Yeah, affair, bender, blind, bout, carousel, drunk, fling, jag, toot, or compotation.
Watching jag.
Yeah, I'm gonna Jag watch some Netflix. I'm gonna, carousel watch me some Netflix on the telly. I don't know.
I'm gonna be a little toot. I'm gonna be a little toot of Narcos this weekend.
Season 5, just came out.
Gosh.
Narcos. I'm preparing for a toot this weekend. I don't know.
Have me a little Jag. Hey.
Yeah.
Doesn't roll out the tongue quite as well as binge watching. I'm sorry.
No, but I mean, if you're to go up to somebody and be like, "You interested in a Netflix orgy?"
Right. You're not gonna make many friends. Well. It doesn't go over as well. No. I guess people. It's just how language kind of controls the way we think. It always has. A lot of people don't really think about it that much, but it really does. It creates associations in our mind with other things. So maybe their insiders are telling them that. So I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I think it's just they don't want it to be a negative thing, and they do have parental controls in there, but I don't know if it limits the amount of time you can watch. I know it just changes the catalog.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something that they need to do. I know that they'll shut off. Like, are you still there? And
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm watching the show. Am I still here?
Nothing makes you feel more like a sad sack on the couch when you're like, Netflix 5 is crashing if you're still there.
Hey.
Shit. Yeah, it has been 5 hours. I've been watching
the show for 6 hours, You still there, guy?
Still
you
here?
All right?
Yeah.
You pass out?
I know. It's got a little Netflix wristband I watch. Checks my blood, my pulse.
Netflix orgies Fitbit.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Right.
So
well, maybe we should do our part and not say it.
All right. Well, let's use some other
I'm
stupid
just
word.
Yeah, we're just gonna go with the toot.
Yeah,
it's the new official term.
Yeah. Toot. Anyway. All right, so a couple episodes ago, I brought up a news piece about the Academy Awards, how they want to bring out this popular movie Oscar for show. Movies this year would maybe fit into that would be Black Panther, Ready Player One. Not quite viewed by everybody as like the best movie of the year, but definitely award worthy. So, according to a recent report, a lot of members of the Academy have publicly said they won't be surprised if that popular film category gets scrapped completely. So that they revealed their plans to instate this, and then even though they might have good intentions, the public for one wasn't really well received. They didn't receive this news too well. A lot of outlets and social media have called this an insult. Others claim it's a feeble attempt by the Academy to attempt to boost dwindling ratings. Of course, because everyone loves tuning in for a 4.5 hour love fest with their favorite celebrities.
It's so stupid. Why would they even care about ratings? It's not why you're doing the awards, is it?
Right. They should. There's like that award show the day before, where it's all the ones nobody cares about.
Yeah.
I mean, they should just air that instead.
Best key grip.
Just to see. Yeah. Right.
Donald.
Yeah. Joe. So the Academy hasn't really responded, publicly as a whole, but a lot of members of the Academy have said that they wouldn't be surprised if this award gets, completely scrapped altogether. It just kind of shows that the Academy is basically, they're really like, they don't really understand the status of film culture. They're not really inclusive in terms of a lot of what they do. So like recently they've more like reactive than proactive. So they've taken steps to like include more films and starring and directed by people of color. And then now people are like, well, what about horror? What about science fiction? What about superhero movies? What about those?
We'll get there.
Yeah. So, I mean, they've been around for a long time and it's just, I don't really watch them. Honestly, what I'll do is if I have like something else going on and then I'll just kind of check the news feed. Oh yeah, these guys won. That's great. But and the award doesn't really dictate how great the film is. Never really has,
Sure.
Or the director or the actor or whoever. A lot of our greatest actors and directors had to wait years or not at all to get an award from these guys. So it seems like at the Golden Globes, they have a little more fun. it's like a smaller setting. It's the Academy, or sorry, the awards at the Golden Globes are a little bit broad, so that's cool. With the Academy, it's just always seemed kind of rigid, and they're not really aware of their audience or a lack of audience that's kind of going on. So
Yeah.
yeah, so they're gonna, if they scrap that, whatever. It's just could have been.
I don't care. It's like, if they want to do it, go ahead. It's not going to, doesn't matter.
Yeah. So
whatever.
So all you Game of Thrones fans, the final season may possibly be delayed. So in July last month, programming chief Casey Bloys said that looks like the eighth and final season will be the first half of 2019. But now someone else is saying, the visual effects guy is saying it probably won't be ready until late May or June 2019 at the earliest.
They're really going all out, huh?
Yeah. So this gentleman says we're going to be toiling away on season 8 until May of 2019. So it's 8 or 9 months away. The prequel is starting to shoot in February, at least the pilot. So we'll still have quite a lot to do on season 8 while they're beginning. So he also said so much of it comes down to timing and all that stuff. The situation changes every week. I know I'm not doing anything else but Thrones until May of next year.
Yeah.
So, sorry everybody. It just raises the expectations. We know it's going to be good. It's been spectacular up to this point. So it's going to have to wait a little bit.
All right. Well,
there's lots of other things we can watch.
When it happen, I'm cooled off. I don't really care.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, it's just whenever it comes out, it'll be here. But until then, I mean, what are you gonna do? Just sit there and complain?
Yeah, yeah. No, 2 more months later than we expected it to be.
Yeah.
Final news piece here. This is some television news. Lifestyles of the rich and famous host Robin Leach. Champagne and caviar dreams with your host Robin Leach has died at the age of 76.
Oh,
yes. I remember this show, watching this when we were little kids and thinking, I'll never have any of this shit. Like, and then why is someone so obsessed with all these things? Interesting, but I mean, it was like a big part of TV culture in the 80s, I think. But he suffered a stroke and passed on. So spent a lot of his time in Las Vegas, pretty much known just for that show. I think he was like a columnist or whatever. Wrote like lifestyle articles for everybody, but
yeah.
Sadly, the man is gone. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Best
Sorry.
of luck to him and his family.
Yeah. It'll be all right. So that's it in the news. Sorry to end on such a bummer note.
Yeah,
but,
jeez. Sorry, guys.
Robin Leach. Sorry, Sean. No lifestyles of the rich and famous for you.
Let's have a moment of silence for Robin Leach.
All right. All right, Sean. So what have you been watching this week?
Jeez.
We had a moment of silence. There's such a thing as dead air,
Yeah. So caught up on some airplane movies because they've always got the best.
Mm-hmm.
Watched two burners there. Watched Rampage.
Oh, okay.
So you know Rampage, the movie with The Rock,
big giant gorilla,
the big ass gorilla.
Yeah.
So I played this game a lot as a kid. 80s arcade Rampage.
I didn't know it was a game. Okay.
Yeah, it was an arcade game where it wasn't really a scrolling screen, a little bit if I remember. And it was just a bunch of buildings, and there was a monkey, the big gorilla. You had the big lizard guy, and then you had like the wolf. So those 3 characters, and the goal was like who could destroy the buildings and get the most points. You would smash the building, you'd see somebody in there, and you'd grab them and eat them, and you're climbing up the side of the buildings and just smashing them, and it's like a time limit.
Mm-hmm.
That was a rad game to play, and they made a movie about it. So when I saw that they were going to make a movie about it, I went, whoa, okay. How are you going to put a plot to this? So
how's that going to work?
They did it. So here's the basic plot is these 2 people that are, they're doing like DNA studies or some kind of crap like that, like manipulating DNA. And they have like some space station, and they were doing tests up in space because it was you don't want to risk it and do it on Earth or whatever, and it goes horribly wrong, and so some lady has to grab the samples and get out of the space station because they made some giant mutant rats, and so one thing leads to another, and she doesn't make the journey, but the capsules do, and they land into 3 different places on Earth. So one lands up in my neck of the woods, Washington, Canada area. One lands in the San Diego Zoo where The Rock works and takes care of the gorilla. And then the other one lands somewhere where I don't know, where alligators live. And somewhere in the south. Where
would that? Okay, Florida.
yeah, Florida, somewhere like that. So I don't know, Boise. So and so then clearly the big gorilla starts getting bigger and bigger. It doesn't know what's going on, but he can sign language. He's intelligent, et cetera, et cetera. So the 2 people that are the masterminds behind this big evil corporation put out this homing beacon that tunes in with anybody affected by this DNA thing, and that's what brings everybody to Chicago. So all 3 collide to Chicago with the National Guard and the Army, and Negan from Walking Dead, I forget what his name is, and then The Rock obviously is in it, and just damage ensues. I mean,
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
There you go. Thank you. And so the animals are thrashing up the buildings, and they're just basically having Royal Rumble in Chicago. Eventually, they destroy the antenna that breaks the trance over the gorilla, and then he kind of saves the day. So that's basically the movie. Sorry to spoil it for you guys, but if you're really hoping for some type of big plot, that's not why you go to this movie. You go just to watch CGI animals wrestle in Chicago. And it's fine for an airplane movie. That's about it. I don't even know why The Rock did it. It was kind of going all right, okay. I don't know what else to say about it. It was, it's a fun rental. It's a popcorn movie. It's probably something kids are going to dig. So I saw it as more like a kid's movie because it's just comical enough where you're probably, 8 to 13 and it's right in the pocket. Maybe a little bit older, but yeah, it wasn't for me.
Okay.
So after I watched Rampage, I watched Tomb Raider, which is the most recent one that was released, not the Angelina Jolie. It's the Alicia Vikander, Dominic West Tomb Raider. So yeah, it's been a while since I've seen Dominic West in a movie or something like that. And he was Lara Croft's dad, Richard Croft.
That would be those fans of The Wire. That'd be McNulty.
Yeah, McNulty. Right? Yes. McNulty, you son of a bitch.
McNulty. Wait. McNulty. My office.
Okay, yeah. And it was it's a reboot, which I didn't think was necessary because they spent 40 minutes rebooting it. I mean, Vikander does a good job as a Lara Croft, but doesn't really establish her range of skills that well, just mainly her family daddy issues and her perseverance in her fight. So you get some elements of her character, but it's much earlier. They almost kind of want to make her a nobody before she becomes Lara Croft. And this was that first adventure that kind of leads up into it. Walton Goggins, you know who that is?
Oh, I love that guy.
He's the villain, and he was great.
He's good. He's good in everything.
Yeah, he plays such a slime ball guy. I don't know. He was. You guys might know him from Hateful Eight. He was the guy with the breasts in Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
He's Justified. He's a great actor.
Yeah.
Anyways, so he was the bad guy in it. And it was entertaining. It was decent. I mean, I'm a fan of the games. It wasn't any better than Angelina Jolie. I actually thought hers were probably a little bit closer to the games in regards to the scale and spectacle. I mean, this one still had little puzzles and still had, more bow and arrow as opposed to gunplay. And, she struggled a lot more in this movie, whereas Angelina Jolie never really dealt with any adversity. So if you're fans of the game or you're looking for a good action movie, it's not too bad. I would probably say it's like a C plus. Just a little bit slow and just, hard to keep your interest as you're kind of going, I already know everything about Tomb Raider, so like get on with it.
Yeah.
And then they had like an interesting way to kind of deal with folklore and stuff that was a little bit different. That was the other element is they, there's like those magical elements of the tombs you're raiding or the history and stuff like that. And they kind of simplified that quite a bit as well. So I won't go into any more details in regards to that, but it started off really strong and just kind of started to flatten out more and more as the movie went. And you're like, okay, well, I see where this is going. Just wrap it up.
Yeah.
And so a couple other ones here real quick. Won't spend a whole lot of time on this. Too Funny to Fail, a documentary on Hulu. It's about the life and the death of the Dana Carvey show. I watched this one. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of David Carvey's show. Didn't spend a lot of time watching it either, to its credit, but it was a good documentary if you're a fan of Stephen Colbert or Michael from the Office. Why am I spacing on his name?
Steve Carell.
Steve Carell, yes. I always think it was Michael. I can't see him beyond Michael.
Right.
Scott. Obviously, Dana Carvey and a handful of other folks just kind of talked about like what the circumstance was of why you took all this talent and put out a show that eventually bombed.
Yeah.
Pretty funny. I mean, I think Dana Carvey is the weakest link. I don't really think he's that funny anymore.
He's just he was a decent impressionist, but he also made one of the worst movies ever made that should have been mentioned in our last episode, but it was called Master of Disguise. Oh man, I
don't know if I actually saw that.
So I should save that for a movie challenge. But cat's out of the bag now, Sean.
I've seen it. It sucks.
Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it? Okay. Yeah.
Look how quick
right?
I gotcha.
What happens? What happens?
I ain't watching
Sean?
that. No, there's no way.
Okay.
Yeah, movie challenge isn't intended to like punish the sibling.
Unless I'm mad at you or something.
Yeah.
I'll get him as I rub my
Grumpy
hands together.
pants.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just like watch like a YouTube review on it and just fake the whole thing.
Yeah, that one part.
Yeah. Anyways, so if you want to check it out, it's on Hulu.
Interesting little side note on that one. I think Louis C.K. was he in the documentary?
He was, but he wasn't interviewed.
Oh, okay. Because I thought they were going to
talk about him a lot. They show him a lot on camera.
Mm-hmm.
But he wasn't interviewed. Just things that he was saying back then, like, interviews from the time period or conversations from the time period, but nothing modern.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I'll check it out.
Obvious reasons. You would like it. I know. I feel like Saturday Night Live, or if you like a lot of those folks, or Colbert or Steve Carell, you definitely got to watch it because you kind of get to see where those guys got started. Because The Office and the Colbert Report would not have happened if it wasn't for the Dana Carvey show. So it's interesting to see how they talk about how it led to all these opportunities for these guys that they may have not have received.
The American Office.
Yeah, because I think what Colbert said is they did a skit, him and Steve Carell did a skit to where you couldn't get through you're like, there are two waiters reading you the items on a menu, and they can't do it without like gagging, like they're going to throw up, like as they like try to describe each thing, like it's just repulsive and disgusting. They're like, tonight's flavor is lasagna with, and it was like, that was the whole bit, but these people loved it so much. So when they were making The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, they said, what about those guys that did that one skit? And that's how they hired them to go onto that show. And then so Steve Carell said, well, you need somebody else. I'm sorry. Colbert said, well, if you need somebody else, Steve Carell is the other guy that did that with me. You should bring him on. And that's how they went on to The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. And the rest is history. Yeah, it's really interesting. So I think you'd like it.
Yeah.
All right. So I watched on Netflix a movie called Mississippi Grind. Have you seen this one?
It's on my list. That's Ben Mendelsohn.
Yeah, Ben Mendelsohn, Ryan Reynolds, couple gambling addicts. It's interesting. The acting is good. It is just So I haven't watched a movie this slow in a long time. I'm not gonna lie, it took me 3 sessions to get through a 2-hour movie, which isn't good. Just because I was like, yeah, I'm good for now, and I just left.
Yeah.
Came back and picked it up. The acting is great. It's just like a character study on a couple guys, but you don't really know where it's going, and it kind of has the same loop of gamble, lose, depression, gamble, lose, depression, and eventually it. Eventually it kind of resolves itself, but you know, yeah, it's just one of those ones that was kind of like, okay, it's a decent movie. It's well made. It's well acted, great lines and stuff. Mendelsohn was really good in it.
He's great.
Ron Reynolds was really solid in it, other than his mustache was a bit odd. But outside of like their individual performances, I didn't really care for the plot or the story it had to tell.
Right. Okay.
All right. So finally, we've got a problem. I can't take this anymore.
What?
Everybody, stop eating. Forks down. The restaurant is closed.
Oh, yes. We got a problem.
We've got a problem.
Oh, no.
What I have just witnessed, ladies and gentlemen,
yes,
is some of the worst food I've ever tasted out of the thousands of restaurants I've visited in my career.
Restaurant.
Yeah.
Restaurant.
Yeah, to hell and back, Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. I've
Hell
probably
on
watched like
Wheels.
4, Hell on Wheels, there you go. I watched like 4 or 5 episodes in the last week, and probably by the 5th one, I'm just over his bit.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, where
his
it's
little
like
fake beard.
he goes like you're talking about this, so I watched some of them. And he goes in and pretends he's undercover, and then he like lips and mouths a bunch of food, talks a bunch of shit, and then goes and reveals himself. And then, we're going to flip your restaurant. He kicks everybody out of the restaurant, shuts it down. I'm like, where's he get the authority to do this? I'd be like, hold on a minute, pal.
Well, then also, like, he's been videotaping them for weeks ahead of time, and he scammed them and said, "Oh, it's an insurance thing,"
Yes, isn't that a invasion of privacy? So,
that's what that's breaking several constitutional laws. They may do it differently over in
something weird going on with this show.
The United Kingdom, there, buddy, and your restaurant. But over here, it's a little differently.
Well, and I'm not buying that. It all happens in 24 hours.
I'm not either. Definitely not. I mean, like that would be slave labor, basically, because you have like union guys in there like remodeling the entire place. I think it's bullshit. You can't keep people up for that long.
I know.
There's like those old codgers are like, looks like I'm going to be up for the next 12 hours. It's like, okay.
Better call your family. You're not going home.
Yeah,
it's like,
you're not going home,
pal.
Can you walk the dog? Because I'm not going to be home till tomorrow night this time. So,
why? Gordon Ramsay showed up at my work, and now I got to do a bunch of shit.
He doesn't like our restaurant, so
it's funny, but like I'm getting over the shtick.
The show to watch is his old show, Hell's Kitchen.
Hell's Kitchen
season 2. Like I think, and then this came out later. Like everybody he visited in season 2 like committed suicide. Pretty much, which we should have laughed at. Yes,
it's horrible.
Like, it is horrible. Like one guy like jumped off a bridge or something, and
just because he went in there and tore him a new one.
Yeah, and they don't. I mean, unlike Hell's Kitchen, he doesn't have like a fancy truck that no one knows what it does. It's just like he rolls a truck up, and supposedly the whole magic is in the truck that will fix the entire restaurant.
Yeah, first watch this big screen while I humiliate you in public.
Hell's Kitchen's his original shtick, where he just shows up and everybody's like, "Oh shit, it's Gordon Ramsay," and then he just proceeds to tear the restaurant a new asshole. From the walk-in freezer out to the parking lot. So it's kind of like the best episode I would recommend. It's on YouTube. Just type in Gordon Ramsay, Amy's Baking Company.
I watched that. Yeah,
so good. It is so good.
It is. That is sad though.
Television gold. It is sad. I mean, because he's dealing with a lot of people who have some serious like mental issues. If anything, the show really tells you how hard it is to maintain a business, let alone a restaurant. I don't think how I'm saying it.
A restaurant.
Yeah. Restaurant. In this country. I mean, you really have to have something different, and it's a lot of work. You really have to have a passion for it. So
Yeah.
if anything, the show will illustrate that. But yeah, did you see the one with the dogs? Like there's a restaurant with like dogs in there.
No, that's the next one where he's
Okay.
like, there's fucking hair in my hamburger.
Yeah,
or something.
yeah. I go, there's a dog hair. There's a dog hair in my hamburger.
What kind of restaurant is this?
Yeah, it's a restaurant.
Yeah. I'm
All right.
speechless.
Right. Put your forks down.
Yeah, forks down, knives down. The restaurant is closed.
Right.
What I've seen here, folks. Yeah, this whole
He's the best, though. He really is.
He's pretty funny. I like his persona.
Yeah.
I hated him at first, but now it's just kind of entertaining to watch.
Look what I've turned you on to, Sean.
No, well, you told me to watch. I've seen him come and go. Didn't he do one of those chef shows? Didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, duh. Didn't he do like the Iron Chef or something?
I think he was a guest on Iron
Or
Chef.
was it
he did some other
a
chef
competition,
challenge.
right? Some like Bobby Flay,
Top
and,
Chef or something.
Yeah. I think he was on one of those, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, some restaurant show.
The funny thing about a lot of these guys that go into the restaurants and like critique their cooking, you never actually see them cook.
No,
You notice that like all the like even with Bourdain, it's like I never saw him cook.
yeah,
Anthony Zimmern, the guy who does the Bizarre Foods, love that show. Never see him cook anything. See him eat a lot of shit. Not cooking anything.
It's like they get a certain popularity, and then they're like, I'm over this cooking shit. I'm just gonna let other people do it.
Yeah, but you're not really establishing credibility if you're not jumping in there and cooking something.
Yeah.
So, but it's still entertaining. That's why we love it.
Yeah, that's why we love it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Glad you followed up on that.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right, batter up.
All right. So I did see a movie in the theaters this week. I'll save that for last. The Mississippi Grind reminded me of a film I saw on Amazon Prime, kind of an older film starring the late Philip Seymour Hoffman called Owning Mahoney.
Owning Mahoney.
And it's pretty good. He always played these like really desperate people that just couldn't keep shit together. Like they'd start out with something and they just couldn't keep it together. And he played that really well. So this is based on a true story about a guy who he's like a head at a bank, like a high up at a bank in Toronto, I believe it is. And he has a gambling problem. So he, over the course of, I think, a couple of years, he starts taking out like exorbitant loans from his own bank, even like, to himself, and then forging fake people, fake companies, and taking out money in their name and then using that towards gambling. So, I mean, it's pretty interesting, but it's also like the one you saw, a little depressing. It just shows you how bad off gambling addiction could be, which I've never had any, thank God. I lose $5 on like a Game of Thrones slot machine and I'm pissed off for the rest of the night. So it's kind of like, thank God I'm not addicted to gambling or any of that stuff. But this one shows how, a guy will forsake everybody from like, girlfriend to friendships to like his job, just to chase that, just to feed that need, I guess it is.
It's kind of very similar things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, he does like, he does pretty well, but then he gets busted, eventually. He spent some time in prison and they don't show all that, but it's up until, when they're comping you at these casinos. Someone told me this recently. I didn't know, like, when they comp people at casinos, they're comping them because they're making a lot of money, but it's also to keep them there to do like kind of a thorough background check on them. Which I didn't know all that, which is, kind of interesting. So
they like delay you to profile you or something?
Yeah, pretty much. Like they, hey, like, stay the night in the room. And then, to them, that's nothing. I mean, they're not really losing any money. Here's tickets to a show at our casino. Here's tickets to the buffet, and then they're kind of checking you out with other casinos to see if they fleece them and then running your profile, running your record, which I think is in their rights to do. But it's like, let's keep this guy here, because eventually you're not gonna always win. So
there is like there is like there and try to get their money back too.
Yeah, exactly. There is like a tipping point to that. So, decent movie if you like Philip Seymour Hoffman. One of our great actors. Big loss, but yeah, check it out. It's on Amazon Prime.
All right, what's it called again?
Owning Mahoney.
Owning Mahoney. Who's Mahoney?
Yeah.
Is that a town or is that
That's
a
his
person?
name. That's the dude's name.
That's his name. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know
The
what
last
the owning
time,
part.
yeah,
refers
Mahoney to me reminds me of Police Academy.
Oh, and Mahoney was Steve Gutenberg,
Yeah, there you go.
right?
Mahoney.
Mahoney, Tackleberry.
Yeah.
Name as many Sean. Name as many Police Academy characters as you can. Go.
Motormouth Jones.
Yep. Ding.
Hightower.
Ding.
What's the mouse? Mouse? Is that her name? Mouse? The girl
No,
that talks?
Hooks.
Hooks.
Ding.
That's all I got.
Tackleberry.
Proctor.
Proctor. Ding. Tackleberry.
Tackleberry. What's Bobcat?
What about
what was his name?
Zed?
Zed.
What about Sweet Chuck?
Sweet Chuck.
He was the guy, the little nerdy guy with the glasses in Police Academy 2.
Wasn't there somebody that didn't
That was
talk?
his name. I think so. Was it House?
I don't know if it was House. It was like just a weird persona that didn't talk but always showed up for like some heroic clutch moment.
Oh, that's right.
I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. Mahoney.
Mahoney.
Proctor.
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 Oh my God. They need to remake those.
Yeah,
They need to keep it really cheesy.
I came so close. I was on Amazon. I saw the box set. It was like $15.
Yeah, don't do it. Remember when they're
so
like
close
in the 80s? I remember they're all like, what are they on those jet skis in that one scene? I was like, yeah, they're all wetsuits kicking ass in the jet skis
with the guitar in the background.
Yeah. Yep. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for that little. Sorry for the delay there.
Trip down nostalgia lane. What else have I been watching? Watched Avengers, Infinity War.
Oh, okay,
on
cool.
Blu-ray. It's good. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we go again.
I think we already covered it.
We're like out of sync by like 2 weeks.
Here we go again. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not gonna get into it. I'm just kind of going over what I've been watching, sir.
All right.
Really? Okay. So let's skip over that one. It's good. I like it.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's all right.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Really cool show. I've been looking into these foreign language series on Netflix. So I watched.
You need to stay with American.
No, I mean, because I'm just finding there's not like a lot of good. So you got to be American. If you don't like it, you can get out.
Yeah,
it's America.
You can leave.
You can leave. Just jerk your thumb over your shoulder.
Yeah.
So where I go that way, or like what? Where are you gesturing towards? This one is from Spain, the country of Spain. It's called Money Heist. Heard of it? Yeah.
No.
Okay. Well, let me explain it a little bit. I'm not going to give the whole thing away, but it's basically it's over 2 seasons. It's 18 hours long. Okay. And yeah, right. It covers a single heist of the mint in Spain. Where they make the money.
Yes.
So it's really good. First of all, I don't know how they're going to do 18 hours of this.
What do you mean? Is it like
Well, it's a series and it's 2 seasons and it's the same heist. So it's not like
it's not like far into it are you?
I'm 4 episodes in.
Oh, so you're like, I got another 12 to...
it's a haul.
14 to go?
It's just kind of weird to see, how they're going to do all one heist in 18 hours or whatever.
Well, I'm sure there's probably some post-heist.
Yeah, well, the thing is...
they get away with it, but then they don't really get away with it?
Yeah, like it's interesting because they allude to stuff, so it's told kind of out of sequence to begin with. So it takes you through all the characters and,
That's
like
the
all
way to do it, yeah.
Yeah.
Like chop up the timeline.
Right, like like Ocean's 11, you have this guy is in charge of the bombs.
Yeah.
This is the wild card. Yeah. This one knows how to crack a safe. So it's like, this one can drill a hole in the wall. So everybody
tech guy.
Watch out for him. So they have that. So that's like the obvious thing. But unlike Ocean's 11, I like these characters. They all have, and So they take the time, and I think that's how they're going to extend the series over this course of time. Is that they take the time to like get into them, what makes them tick. And so they show it out of sequence and kind of, chopped up and everything. The guy who's in charge his name's the Professor, and that's all they know about him. He basically tells them in the beginning, don't give each other your real names. So they all pick a city in the world, and so they're all named after different cities. And then he says, don't give any personal information, and then don't get romantically involved.
Sounds like a
with
Tarantino
anybody.
influence there.
A little bit, right? Yeah.
Mr. Pink.
Your name is, why can't I be Mr. Black? I got another guy on a job named Mr. Black. You're Mr. Pink. Why don't it be Mr. Brown? That's like Mr. Shit.
Yeah.
Your favorite movie.
Mr. Pink.
It's good. I like it. I can't wait to keep watching it. It's in Europe they know how to do it, I think, with a lot of stuff. They know how to do it. I mean, it plays up kind of the dramatic angle of stuff. Because inevitably the rules are going to be broken, and they already kind of have been. So you see that side of it, but it's definitely entertaining, and it gets not only into like the minds of the people who are robbing the bank, but also the people who are there, and kind of gets into their drama and everything. So it's definitely worth checking out. Money Heist. It's a different take on something we've seen like a billion times, but it's done very well. It's shot well. It's very compelling. Definitely dig it.
Cool.
Yeah. So check it out. Money Heist. Yes. All right. So I went to the theater this week and I saw Blackkklansman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to check this out. How was it?
Oh man, it's so good. I loved it. It's
a Spike Lee joint, right?
It's a Spike Lee joint. So it has John, I think his name's John David Washington, who's the son of Denzel Washington. And then Kylo Ren is in it.
Yeah, Adam Driver.
Adam Driver, right? And it also has interesting Steve Buscemi's brother, who looks just like him with gray hair, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
Same
That's
like
who I
Bug
want to play me in my movie about my life.
There you go. Yeah. So same, looks exactly the same. Bug eyes, like the same facial expressions and everything. I love this movie. It's Spike Lee does a really good job in this film, especially of kind of making it more accessible to like a broader audience.
Okay.
So what I mean by that is like he uses the humor of the film, which if you see the preview, you pretty much know the entire premise. Guy goes to African American cop goes to Colorado Springs, eventually makes like a cold call to the KKK, and tells them how much he hates minorities, and then he wants to sign up, and then he kind of gets involved where they invite him to meet some of the guys in the Klan. He obviously can't go, so he enlists Adam Driver to play him in the field. And then he eventually like launches a campaign when he finds out that these fellows might be a little dangerous and have some, semi-terrorist activities. And Topher Grace is in it. He plays David Duke, and very funny. He's great in this one too. So I mean, it does a good job where it kind of uses the humor to maybe soften the blow a little bit, because the message of the film is very serious. The themes are very serious. But, he does it in a way where, like, someone explained this to me the other night that I thought made sense. Like, if someone older went to see this movie, the humor would kind of reel them in. But then the themes that are kind of hitting you hard, not overly so, but that they're there, you would definitely kind of latch onto those too.
Yeah.
So that's what I kind of liked about this movie was that there's a really good scene with Adam Driver and Washington, and I'll kind of paraphrase it, but Adam Driver's playing a Jew, so and he's a Jewish character, so he is undercover, trying to hide that, and then also trying to hide the fact that him on the phone is being played by a black guy. So Adam Driver basically says, like, I've been a Jew my whole life, but I've never really understood what that means. Like, I don't know the rituals. I don't know, like, it was just, I've always just grown up a white guy. Never really knew my past until now. I'm starting to think about it. So that's like one of the takeaways I got from the film is like, it's important to know your heritage, no matter what color or race you are, just as long as you don't use that like as a weapon against other people, as long as you don't use that to better someone else. The movie really ties in a lot of current themes, which I thought were interesting. Especially, not like an aimed attack, but, a little nudge at like Donald Trump. Had some stuff in there from current times, just kind of reminding you that, racism, even though we think it's gone, it's definitely not. It exists everywhere. And not just in the South. I mean, it exists all over the place. I think it kind of left, after the theater, it's one of those movies where everybody's kind of quiet, just kind of sitting there. I sat there for a minute just thinking about this. Very powerful. Very well done. I really, really liked it.
Good.
Definitely recommended to anybody. I mean, people need to see this movie. People need to make more movies like this. I think it's kind of like I've said before. One of the goals of a film should be to stir some kind of emotion into you and hopefully have you take action sometimes against something, or reflect on a way you've acted, or reflect on the way you see things going on in your world, and hopefully inspire you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
how was the crowd?
They were good. I mean, when I went, it's been out for a couple weeks, and I went like in the middle of the day, so it wasn't like a full theater, but it was a largely mixed crowd. But respectful. Everyone was paying attention. But yeah, it wasn't like crazy, didn't get too wild. I mean, the movie's so good, it just kind of it grabs you in. It's a little over 2 hours, but it never really feels that way. There's some crazy stuff in this movie, and it's the Klan in the 70s, and so they draw parallels between that, and then they also touch upon one of the first movies that ever got popular, Birth of a Nation, which
oh yes,
which is like completely heralded as like, it was this groundbreaking like masterpiece, but the movie is completely racist. It's completely hateful, and it's like they were showing scenes interspersed in the movie, like the KKK after their induction ceremony, like they watched that movie and eat popcorn, and then they interspersed it with someone else talking about like a lynching, and then talking about scenes from that movie. So it really makes you think about these things in a different way. It's like we don't know it, like no one knows this stuff. So if anything, it's like talk to your parents, talk to your grandparents, learn about history, learn about these things, try to change it. You don't have to be proud of these things or just take it for face value. It should always be examined and always try to be made more positive and less hateful. So yeah.
What other movies would you compare it with? Anything else similar in tone and feel?
I'm not sure. I mean, it definitely feels like a Spike Lee movie. He has like that dolly shot, that tracking dolly shot. That's like, kind of a trademark of his. So I waited the whole movie to see that, and it happened at one point. And I'm like, yeah, there it is. I don't know. I mean, it really reminded me of a little bit of like Do the Right Thing, which I love. That's one of his earlier films, where that one presents it in a different way, where it just kind of touches on a lot of different races and cultures, kind of in this big melting pot of a district in New York. I don't know. I can't really think of anything like offhand that really compares to this. But it definitely reminded me of like kind of maybe older movies like from the 70s, like maybe like Network, or just kind of movies that really make you think about the world you live in. How the media portrays things. A lot of it was like reminding me of movies that might have dealt with racism and things about the Klan and things like that. So, it's just great that people are still making movies like this, and they have a message and they have something to say. It's quite refreshing. I mean, I don't mind the action movies and just the kind of fluff things, but it's good to have movies like this too. And it's doing well. It's got a really good response. So that's refreshing.
Yeah, that's good.
It's a positive thing. So.
Yeah, it's nice to go see a movie that's got something to say. I mean, I would admit a lot of stuff I watch is more on the entertainment side. There's not a lot of new stuff coming out that's provocative or really stops to make you think. And if it is, they're not being marketed and people aren't hearing about it.
Yeah.
That's the other tough part is it's just oversaturated. And most of the marketing is going towards the dollar generated, flicks. So yeah, I'm definitely interested. I need to go. I've heard great things about it.
Yeah, I think everybody should see it. It's one of those things where it's like, no matter what age you are, what culture you are, you need to see it.
Did he write the screenplay and everything, or what did?
I noticed it was with a bunch of different people. It doesn't, usually movies that are written by a lot of people, like it just seems disjointed. Because it's usually best to have. I think he co-wrote it with like 3 other people, but it feels pretty cohesive. Jordan Peele, I think he produced it. So,
okay.
That's kind of cool that he's been doing more stuff cinematically after, Get Out. So it has like, the casting's really, really good. It's a period piece in the 70s, so it definitely has that look to it. But, yeah, I just like the way it's kind of everything's shot. Alec Baldwin's in it at one point. And he's in the beginning, and it's a really crazy scene. I don't want to talk about it too much, but it's definitely worth checking out. Like a lot of these actors, when they take on these scenes and these roles, it's very like you got to applaud them for their bravery in playing like hateful people or people that have some kind of racism in them.
Fassbender did in 12 Years a Slave.
Totally, yeah.
You're like, ooh, that's too good.
Yeah, you're right. I
don't. This doesn't feel good.
You're a German guy, right? Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's got pretty much everything I'd expect to see in a film. Like usually, like movies, like I don't want to go to the movies all the time, but I just kind of wanted to see this in a theater.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just a lot of people are talking about it, and it's definitely like I think everyone should see this movie, regardless.
Nice. All right. Well, thanks for sharing. Oh, last question. How's the music?
It was good.
Nothing stand out?
Not really. I mean, it's got like a score in it. It's got like some period. Spike Lee's also known for like his soundtracks and stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing like too crazy. Like it didn't seem like there was a ton of music in it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Which was kind of nice sometimes, like because that can be distracting at points. But it had some like good, cool like 70s songs. I can't think of like any offhand, but it had a couple cool like 70s songs in there that were definitely of its time and fit well with this movie. So,
all right,
yeah,
cool. All right.
Yeah.
Anything else on your plate?
No, that looks like that's pretty much all I had time to watch this week.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, but okay. I wanted to mention. I had these on my notes. 3 previews that stuck out to me because now when I'm going to the movies, I'm like taking notes in a way, like because of this podcast.
Yeah.
So 3 previews of movies I probably won't be seeing. Okay. First one, Fahrenheit 11/9.
Haven't seen it yet.
Okay. Well, it's our boy Michael Moore.
Oh, okay.
So
I have seen a poster.
Yeah, it's another, I mean, I don't know how you feel about this guy, but he's just kind of annoying at this point. I mean, I understand.
When he first came out, like Columbine, and then he had the one after that, it's really easy to be entertained because he had his style, which was kind of unique at the time.
Yeah.
But as you kind of get older and you become more informed, you start realizing, especially you start realizing that anybody can spin any topic any way they want and make it extremely compelling. And so I really kind of felt like it was a puff piece.
Yeah.
I just didn't really trust his portrayal of something. I didn't want to take it at face value.
It's also heavily edited too.
Yeah, not in linear sequence and just anything to fit his narrative. So
fit his narrative and kind of skew it towards what he does. So, yeah, so that was up, and I was like, oh, here we go again, this guy,
yeah.
So that was kind of like, all right, whatever. Another one, Papillon, which is a remake. So here we go again with the remakes. So the original is a movie I really like with Steve McQueen and Dustin Hoffman. So the new one has Jax in the role. Jax Teller. That's some of these guys. That's all I'm going to know him as. I'm sorry, but
yeah, that's all right.
Jax Teller and Mr. Robot, basically. So that's what I'm not going to say their names. That's all. I know you can call me out on it, but
Ramsey Malik or
Rami Malek.
Rami Malek.
Yeah.
Freddie Mercury. His name isn't Mr. Robot in this show. Is it?
Well, okay, I don't think so. What is his name? Sam or something?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, I remember I saw some lady who saw Steven Tyler like at Universal City Walk, and she's like, says to her family, "I just saw Aerosmith." And it's like,
like all of them
not
at
his
once?
name. Yeah, that's the one
like
guy.
When they're in public, they all like have to hang out together.
I know.
I just saw Aerosmith. Did you?
Yeah, did you?
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. So this one, I mean, it looks okay, but again, it's a remake of a classic movie. I mean, it is a classic. Look it up.
Right.
Look it up. It's a classic, man. Steve McQueen, great actor.
Yeah.
Basically, it's like a French guy who's he's sentenced to a prison sentence on an island, and it's about his escape. So, and then Mr. Robot plays like a millionaire guy that kind of is this wingman, helps him out and everything. So,
all right.
Maybe I'll see it on DVD, but I don't know about going to see it in the theater. I'm just what, Mr. Robot?
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
I need to look at the trailer, see if it's compelling. I haven't seen the original, so it could be something interesting for me.
Yeah.
You have baggage, so we'll see.
Oh yeah. Last one is called White Boy Rick. And,
okay.
Yeah, it's about a kid that becomes a drug dealer. It's in the 80s. It's with Matthew McConaughey.
So
yeah,
what's his name?
I don't know. It just looks like one of those movies again. It looks like a Blow for teenagers.
Yeah, but if you're instead of saying Matthew McConaughey, what's his alternate name?
Oh,
what would be the one? Mud.
Okay,
the Lincoln Lawyer. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Lincoln Lawyer. All right. Or whatever his character's name was.
Oh, Sahara.
Oh yeah. That guy.
Pick all those bad movies.
Yeah. We'll have to do a whole episode where we just use people's other names.
Yeah, but I'm with you. All right.
Yeah. But it just looks like Blow for teenagers, like just like, oh yeah, like all of a sudden he's a nothing, and then he becomes like a massive drug dealer, and it's not going to end good, or he ends up informing for like, the FBI or whatever. So yeah, I mean, whatever. There's 3 previews I saw. It didn't look that great. So that's all I got for that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I'll be looking out for them.
Yeah. So that's what I've been watching.
Cool. All right. Well, sounds like it's been a fun week.
Trying to Google Matthew McConaughey's name right now to spell it right. It's not coming up.
You're not quick enough, son.
Wait a minute. I don't know why I put John McConaughey. I don't know.
Yeah, not it.
That might be why. Like John McConaughey. Oh, there it is. I just don't want to spell his name wrong when I do the show notes.
Sure.
I'm a man of integrity.
Yeah, John McConaughey.
Yeah.
So we're gonna sign off here, but before we do, why don't you tell everybody about what we're gonna be talking about in our next episode?
Well, in our next episode, we're going to do kind of a genre approach again. So we're going to talk about our favorite cop movies. So this involves anything having to do with police officers. Also, we can include like the FBI in that. Not the CIA, because that's a little too much like a spy movie. But, anything involving SWAT teams, cops, FBI. We're going to talk about the good. Mostly the good, maybe some of the bad, though. I mean, so we could focus on really crappy cop movies as well. I think that might be appropriate if we're talking about the ones we like. We should also talk about the ones that are just awful, because there's a lot of good ones and a lot of bad ones.
Yes, there is.
So,
all right, cool.
Episode 39 will be about cops.
Cops don't like me.
Why, Sean?
I don't like cops.
Why don't cops like you?
Cops.
You seem like a nice guy.
Cops don't like me.
Okay, all right. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know what comes after that.
Yeah. That's it.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you for stopping by and enjoying episode 38. We hope you had as much fun as we did. Stop by Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Stay connected with us at The Harsch Review, HARSCH. And if you want to support our podcast, we'll love you tender. Go over to patreon.com/The Harsch Review, and you can support your favorite brothers who do a weekly podcast. Yeah. Anyways, next week, talking about cops, we're going to put the thing up on our Facebook page, reach out on Twitter and stuff like that, kind of solicit and see what are some of the cop movies you like, good or bad. So jump in the conversation. We'll talk about it next week.
We could do cop shows as well.
Cop shows like...
I'm not going to spend 30 minutes talking about The Wire, Sean.
Like Chips?
Yeah, like Chips. Chips.
Episode 39, Chips.
Chips. When I was a kid, I always thought it was about potato chips.
I always thought it was about the little chocolate things in cookies.
Right.
Why do they call them chips?
Yeah, what's going on? Yeah, chip on his shoulder or something?
Damn it. It ain't chip.
What's an acronym? Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
I get it now.
I know. Clever.
You talk about chips. It's not on my list, but, feel free.
Sure. All right. Well, anyways, thank you so much, everybody, and we'll see you next week. This is Sean.
And this is Ryan. Or John McConaughey.
Yeah, John McConaughey over here.
All right.